everyone! For those of you who don't know me yet, my name is Jana and I'm a dark fantasy artist and illustrator, mostly working in books and other things. A while ago I got a message from Caitlin on Instagram asking for advice on how to find work as a freshly out of art school illustrator in the fantasy genre. She does some lovely work, by the way, so check it out. Unfortunately, that's a bit of a common situation because for some reason art schools still don't do terribly well preparing their students for the business side of illustration. So I thought you might be interested in my response as well. Personally, I consider marketing as a freelance illustrator a three-pronged approach. Now, the first one is actively seeking out potential clients yourself. The second one is making it very easy for them to find you. And the third one is through your artist community. People tend to focus a lot on social media marketing nowadays, but it's not the most effective way to pull client work because while you might reach a lot of people, most of them won't actually be in a position to hire you. It's much more effective to actively target specific potential clients. And at its core, this is a very straightforward strategy. If you want to work with somebody, just send them an email. So cold emailing can be frustrating because you'll likely not hear anything back for a good while. It might feel like what you're doing isn't working at all. But overall, sending just one targeted email is probably more effective than posting 20 times on Instagram when it comes to getting your art in front of the right people. Because who sees your art isn't depending on luck and whether some nebulous algorithm is liking you today, but it just depends on how well you're doing your research and whether or not your potential client will click on your email. The first part of this, the research, the emailing, the tailoring the email to what you expect your target to be interested in most, that's all in your control. The second part, well, can't do anything about that really, but at least they'll read your name and name recognition is a good thing, unless you spam them, which you shouldn't do. Like, the general rule of thumb is mailing new work about 4 times a year. So if they don't reply to your email, don't try to send them another one and be like, why are you not replying to my email? Nobody likes that. Now, the research is the actual tricky bit. Apart from overcoming procrastination and imposter syndrome to send the emails regularly. So you want to find out who the people are that you want to work with. Who are the people that might want to hire you? In book illustration, the traditional method is going to a bookstore and imagining where your work might fit in. Who are the publishers in the genre you're working in? What book covers are in a similar vein as yours? What book could you imagine looking good with your art on it? And then you write down the names of the publishers and the art directors, designers, and the illustrators you find. Also note down the covers that you especially love, because that's just a really nice thing you can mention in any future emails you're going to write to the art directors who are responsible for them. While designers are usually credited on the cover, art directors most often are not, so finding their names is a bit more involved. You can check if they're mentioned in the front of the book or in the acknowledgements, but usually it will take a little bit more sleuthing. Just a little hint, illustrators will often credit their art director and or designer when they post their work online. Once you have a list of potential contacts, you're ready to go. Just introduce yourself, say you'd love to work with them, link your portfolio, and attach 1 to 3 relevant low-resolution JPEGs. And that's it. Emailing is, of course, not the only way to be seen by the people on your list. Back in the olden days, before everybody started working from home, sending postcards with your art to publishers was big. And you can still do it. Consider that the people who will see your card might remember you more now because it's not as common as it was. Physical art has the big advantage that somebody keep it around them in their office or on their desk, so it will remind them of you every time they see it. If you have the option, try to arrange a meeting in person. Look at conventions they might attend, or if they give portfolio reviews. You can even schedule a meeting at the publisher's office. Again, it was more common in the olden days, but in-person meetings are, in my opinion, the most powerful tool you have, because we are, after all, social creatures, right? And you just feel better hiring somebody when you know for sure they are reasonably trustworthy human beings. Okay, now let's talk about social media. It's initially more rewarding because you'll get immediate reactions from people to your art, but the actual payback in, pay is probably disproportional to the effort you're putting in. Your art might get seen by lots of people, but not necessarily by the people who want to hire you. Again, I'm speaking from the perspective of a freelance illustrator looking for illustration gigs. You might also want to sell products or get brand deals, and that's just a whole different matter. Social media is kind of a multi-purpose tool, and today I'm just going to talk about one of its uses. Before you're posting, think about where the people you want to reach hang out online. Where are they looking for fresh talent? Where do they scroll their time away? Is it Instagram or Pinterest for inspiration? ArtStation or Cara? Are they still on Twitter, or did they move over to Threads or Blue Sky? Are they on Facebook or LinkedIn? I've heard old people still go there. And in what age range are the people who might hire you? When you're composing your posts, try putting yourself in the shoes of an art director. What are the keywords they might search for? What would they like to see on your profile? How should you present your art? So make sure you have your email visible somewhere. Art directors will need those to send you commission inquiries. They will probably not DM you. Also consider they're very busy and you don't want them to have to go through too many clicks to find the proper way to contact you. Don't worry too much about the amount of followers. That's kind of arbitrary unless you are an influencer and you're being hired both for the art and your own marketing power. I think that can happen nowadays, but usually your art being a good fit and being good enough to sell a book or whatever product you're meant to illustrate are still the deciding factor. Having an audience of 200 art directors is so much more valuable than an audience of 1 million school children if what you want is illustration work. This is the least straightforward way of getting you hired, and you really shouldn't think of engaging in your artist community as just a potential avenue for work. Consider it a perk of making friends with really cool people. When an illustrator has to decline a job, it's good form to recommend a few other artists to the client that would be a good fit for the project instead. If you're, for example, in an artist group, whether on Discord or Facebook, and you want to be in 1 or 2 or 3 or 10, you might sometimes see people asking around who's interested in a potential commission so they can pass along that info to their client. However, I usually recommend people I already know and think would do a great job. It's a bit like playing art director for one email. In that sense, all of your peers might have their one email of art direction, and when they do, you want them to think of you fondly. Speaking of art direction, art directors and designers are often also artists, so your artist friends might at some point become your art directors. And then there are the art directors who are already active in the community. They have an eye on who's around and who's doing what. And if you're present, pleasant, and doing cool stuff, by which I mean art, they might think you'd be neat to work with because they have a better sense of who you are. A trustworthy human being. Anyways, lone wolfing this career is just stupid. Which is why I'm not alone today. Oh my god. Oh, sorry. Say hello to my assistant, Inga. Overall, there there's no tried and true one-size-fits-all recipe to getting hired by your dream clients. I once wrote a cold email to a client and got a positive reply right away because they happened to be looking for artists for a new horror project right at that very moment. I didn't know that when I wrote to them. It was a fluke. I have a dream client I emailed for 7 years, got nice replies from, met an art director as a guest during an online mentorship, nearly got hired once, and then it took another 2 years for it to actually work out. Heck, I'm friends with an art director on Duolingo. We don't talk, just do Duolingo high fives. Does it get me hired? No. Does it hurt? No, I never let them down on the Friends challenges. I think of finding work as a freelance artist like tending a garden that grows over time. You're constantly throwing seeds around and some come to fruition, some don't. You focus on the ones that grow, make sure they're watered and fed, I suppose. I'm not gardening, I'm not a gardener. And maybe you plant more of the same plants because they seem to be doing really well. And then while you're not watching, some old seed you thought was long dead germinates after all, has like a serious growth sprout and just overtakes the entire garden. It gets easier with time because not all the plants need constant tending and they proliferate on their own, and maybe one day you'll even end up with some sweet permaculture that doesn't require you to do much at all. But it takes time and hard work to get there. The thing is, you'll never know 100% what will lead to you being hired. Just do your research, keep making great art, present it well, and put it out there.
Hey everyone, it's me again. I just wanted to say that if you have any questions regarding freelance illustration that you think I could help you with, that you want to see a video about, feel free to let me know in the comments or write me a message or something. Thanks, bye!